the planet. In some ways, we already are. I don't know if you saw The Economist, one of those nerdy magazines. If you really want to establish yourself as a grade A nerd, you subscribe to The Economist, where they misspell color and things like that. Great magazine out of London. And a month or two ago now, they had this great article that showed a California surfer coming in, his board broken, kind of looked a little bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, all hunched over, looking all depressed. And, you know, you had, though, another person out on a jet ski out, you know, riding off into the waves, you know, with money flying up behind him, and that was Texas. And the thrust of the article was where the planet is going. And it was pushing hard this idea that Texas really is at the forefront of kind of a global change of what does it mean to operate an economy and free economy, that kind of thing. It's a great article. So in many ways, the world is looking to us, and it's critical that we make sure we're adopting the right public policies so that we continue to deserve the world's attention. But yet there's some troubling things that we have been doing over these last couple of years in public policy that should cause us pause as we consider our economic edge, globally speaking. The first of those was 3 years ago now. The Texas Supreme Court ruled that Texas property taxes were too high. Well, thanks a lot, like we didn't know that. And they ruled specifically that Texas's finance scheme for funding public education was relying too heavily on the local property tax, creating what amounted to a statewide property tax, because all school districts were approaching this cap that was in constitutional cap that was in place. And so the legislature was forced to deal with this issue of school finance. And so how did our divine, godlike leaders in the Texas legislature choose to address it? Did they address spending? No. They just created a new tax on business, a very unique, odd, strange, never seen anywhere before in the planet tax, this gross margins tax. Finally, Truth in Advertising, a tax that's called gross. It was kind of nice to finally see. But this tax created a lot of uncertainty, a lot of problems. Now, we still have lower business taxes in Texas than the rest of the nation. That's something. But yet you look at other parts of the world and what they're doing with their business taxes. Ireland, for instance, has been, over the past decade, slashing almost to zero now their business taxes, which is why Ireland is the emerald tiger, and while the entire EU wants Ireland to basically shut down because Ireland's been cutting their taxes and all this growth and stuff. You can look at various other countries. They've been doing very similar things over these last several years of ensuring that they can attract business. India has been doing it and other places. And so here we are in Texas, and while everyone else is going that way, we're going that way. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But of course, they did it because of our business tax, because of our property tax. Texas has the 7th highest property tax burden in the nation, 7th highest property taxes in the nation. That's not a list you want to be at the top of. You want to be at the bottom of that list. 7th highest. Do you have an idea of what that practically means? How many of you think you own your own home? Anyone? How many of you think you own your own home? Yeah. Probably by phrasing, some of you are wisely keeping your hands down, because you don't. You don't own your own home in Texas. If you are under the illusion that you own your home because you paid off your mortgage and you've been living there for 30 years, if you think you own your own home, try this experiment. I'm not going to do it, but you nice people should be willing to do it for the greater good. Don't pay your property taxes next year. See what happens. Don't pay them. I know what happens. A nice burly gentleman with a constable patch will show up, knock on your door, and ask you to please vacate his property. Our property taxes have become confiscatory. We have got to rein in property taxes. We have to do something about them. Something. not what the legislature did, creating the shell game. We have to address the real problem. I'd suggest to you that two things have never happened in the history of man. Two things have never ever happened, despite what you might think. No business in human history has ever paid a tax. Not a one. No business anywhere on the planet has ever paid a tax. Now, businesses remit a lot of taxes. They don't pay taxes. Business taxes are borne by people. People pay taxes, businesses do not. The way a business taxes work is that you as a customer pay a small portion of it. You as an employee pay a portion of it, either in lost wages or lost opportunities. You as a shareholder or an investor lose it in terms of lost return. And most notably, you as a business owner pay it because of your lost profit going home. But at no time does the business pay the tax. People pay the tax. It's just that some accountant with a green eye shade sitting in a windowless room writes the check. But all of us pay the taxes. Business taxes are a great way to hide the cost of government, to diffuse out the cost of government so we blame somebody else, so that the young man who doesn't get a pay raise this year, he blames his boss, not realizing, of course, that's because of a business tax. That way, when you see that blue jeans cost, $1 more, at Walmart or Dillard's or wherever you buy blue jeans, that you blame the greedy store owner for charging you more for the pair of blue jeans rather than blaming the business tax. You just go down the line. Business taxes are a nice way to hide the cost of government. The second thing that's never happened in all of human history is there's never been a tax problem. No tax problem has ever existed. Taxes are symptoms of a problem. Taxes are symptoms. If you have a headache, and after talking to me for now 14 minutes, if you don't have a headache, there's something wrong with you. If you have a headache, it's not me talking this time, let's pretend, although that's probably the real reason why. If you have a headache, something like 80% of the time, your headache is caused by dehydration. Another 19.99% of the time, it's allergies, things like that. And less than 1% of the time, it's brain cancer, okay? So, you can always go out and take an aspirin when you have a headache, but it's the glass of water you drink that most of the time is curing your headache. Sometimes blood sugar levels, eat a Snickers bar, that will take care of it, and along with the aspirin and the water, but it wasn't ever the aspirin and the water, it was always, aspirin and the Snickers is always the water. You go down the line. Now, sometimes your headache really is brain cancer, and aspirin won't cure that. I mean, I was an Aggie economist who's also studied English, and I can ask you if you want fries with your order, and I can tell you when you get change. I'm not a doctor, but I do know this: aspirin does not cure brain cancer. Taxes are very similar. Taxes are symptoms of problems. They're not real problems. So a lot of times we spend a lot of time attacking tax problems. Now, there are problems with different kinds of taxes. Income taxes are the most evil way a government can collect money. Evil, evil, evil. You never do an income tax. Anyone who supports income tax is evil. I will tell you that. Why do I believe that? Why do I think that is demonstrably true? Because an income tax says government owns you. You are the property of government. An income tax says you belong to government. My theology says I belong to someone else, not to government. Okay? But an income tax decrees that what you are, up to 54% or whatever it is now, it feels like our income tax rate is, whatever that number is, that's how much of you belongs to government. And your job is to work for government. Income taxes are evil. Never do an income tax. The almost